All right, good morning.
On Jordan Hicks,
What happened to him? Um,
setback.
no, I mean, he just had, just wanted to give him a little extra rest. He had there's a little inflammation in there in the calf, and just wanted to make sure he got plenty of rest yesterday. He'll be limited again today and see where he's at.
How about Kelce?
Kelce, yeah, Kelce's the same thing. Just wanted to give him, a day just to rest this time of year. Give guys some time to, get a little added rest. That's why I do the walkthroughs on Wednesday and things like that. So he'll be good. He'll practice today, and we'll see where he's at, on game day.
Was there a point in your career where you picked some of these thoughts up from other coaches as far as, getting guys off their feet later in the season and, doing more classroom?
Yeah, I think some of it's just, I think having been a player and kind of, you always play the what if games with yourself. Like, what if I'm ever in that situation? What am I going to do? The what ifs and all that stuff. And I think I've had coaches that have backed down reps, not necessarily done more walkthroughs, but backed down reps on a Wednesday or a Thursday practice and try to keep guys as fresh as they can. I think with the nature of this game, as the speed of the game and the violent nature of the game, I mean, the more rest that I can provide, we can still get a lot. We can get twice as many plays in a walkthrough setting than we can in a normal practice. So I feel like that's more beneficial this time of year than the actual live rep.
Do you alter the film watching in any way, one way or the other?
Do I alter that?
Yeah.
No. I keep the meeting schedule the same. I think it's important that they still, not only watch the practice but watch our opponent as well. So I don't change that.
How much has the sports science and the data and that stuff helped you make those decisions on kind of when to pull back on a guy or, when to kind of push a little bit?
Some, I still think you just have to get a feel for your team. You can see them. You can see them when they walk in the building and where they are, mentally, physically, and then just you get the injury report. If it's longer one week than the next, then maybe you need to back down just a little bit because you want guys to be able to practice, even if it's a walkthrough setting. Say they have something that's a little nagging. If we went a full practice, a live practice, let's say, they probably couldn't go, but at least in a walkthrough setting, they can still get that rep mentally, and not so much physically. But yeah, it's just. Some of it, you do look at the numbers of it, but quite frankly, I look at the injury report and just see the health of the team that way.
Do the players ever come to you and say, "Hey, coach, maybe we should back off a little bit"?
No, I mean, you remember last year going into the postseason, the only thing they did was they came to me and wanted the pads back on at the end of the season last year, going into the bye. So I haven't had it necessarily the other way. I try to gauge that just based on. Talking to them and just quite frankly just seeing how they react coming off a big game.
It is kind of a feel, not necessarily a philosophy, because if you were healthier, could it change and maybe you wouldn't have
Yeah, I think too, I got to realize that, we got some young players on defense and sometimes getting the live rep is better. But this time of year, these guys have played a ton of snaps, and we're in a position to continue our season, and I just want to make sure they're as fresh and healthy as possible. So it's a little bit of philosophy for me, and just having a pulse of your team.
If you get into the playoffs, is putting the pads back on something you would consider?
I would consider it, but again, if we're playing next week right away, so it'd be a little different.
In experiencing this fan base the different ways you have as a player, assistant coach, head coach, why do you think there's such a connection between Nick Foles and this city?
Well, I think number one, there's a great connection with a lot of our players in this city. I think there's a work ethic with a lot of guys. I think Nick possesses that. I think Carson possesses that, and so that's what our community sees. That's what our city sees, and I think too when you're just down to earth, genuine, you're open, you're honest, you're transparent. People can respect that, and people they sort of gravitate to that just a little bit. And I think Nick has some of that, that honesty in him, and I think that's what. And obviously he's playing at a high level, so people are going to gravitate to that.
If Isaac's back this week, is he your left guard again?
If Isaac's back, I'll tell you this: if we're gonna get him through today, we'll see where he's at the end of the day, and then we'll make that decision probably game time.
Nick is one of several notable players who could be coming to the end of their careers in Philly. Are you using that at all, or drawing on that?
Not at all. I quite frankly, I don't want them even thinking about that. I want them to think about the Redskins and playing this game, and if we're fortunate, we're going to continue to play next week, and I just want them focused on that and not worrying about the future.
How has Chris Long gone about becoming a leader on this team?
How has he gone about it? Chris has always been, I think, a natural leader since he's been here. The things he does off the field speak volumes. That's why he's, up for Man of the Year, NFL Man of the Year, and it's a great honor to be talked about in that light. And I think that's given him a platform, obviously a veteran player to, number one, lead by example, on the field and off the field, and also just lead through words on encouraging guys. And that's what you see from Chris, and he's been very instrumental in helping us win a championship, and obviously putting in this position to hopefully continue our season.
How did Mike Wallace hold up in his first on-field practice?
He did good. He was limited. He just did our individual stuff. We kept him out of the team stuff. We'll do that again today and see where he's at. But he held up good.
Doug, how challenging and rewarding has this season been for you and your coaching staff?
The challenge for me is each week I think the number of injuries and who your guys are going to be. Who are your 46 going to be on game day. Just managing that. Guys were coming off of injury. Earlier in the season, Carson was coming off of his. Alshon, I think, a BG. Guys like that were coming off of injury and back into play. So you're managing that just a little bit. And then as the season progressed, you started getting newer faces out there and trying to get everybody caught up. So, I think just, staying consistent, staying the course, true to ourselves, stay the process, trust the process rather, and has kind of got us through it. And now here we are today. We've won 4 of our last 5 with an opportunity again this weekend to continue that. And, again, I put a lot of credit back on the players, obviously, for staying focused each week, staying in the moment, just, hey, just one game at a time mentality. And so it's a lot of credit to them as well.
You knew before the season there were a lot of those injuries would have carried over into the year with Jeffrey and Wentz. Would you have done anything differently in terms of prep or in terms of preparing for the loss?
Yeah, like in their cases, there's not much more you could do. It was based on just heal time and when the doctors cleared them. I do look back on, OTAs and training camp and see if there was anything I would do different, whether I would maybe, put the pads on one more time in training camp as opposed to taking them off or just anything like that as I will reflect back on this season, hopefully in a couple of weeks, you always got to maintain that aggressiveness, that demeanor with your team, and I think that's what you're seeing now this time of year, that our team has definitely possessed that, and just by the way they've been playing and winning these games.
At the time of the season, do you think about roster sizes and game day limits and things like that, and do you think there'll be a push to expand that even if the schedule isn't expanded to 18 games?
Yeah, I mean, those are all discussions that are going to come up, and we'll have those in the near future. I always, as a former player, I always think about roster size, practice squad sizes and, active game day size rosters and all that. But, we make do with what we have, and you trust your medical team and your staff to get guys healthy each week and back out on the field. And, these conversations will definitely, I think, take place, especially leading up to the league meetings.
As you got off the plane from New Orleans, did you realistically think you'd have a chance to be where you are now?
I did. I did. When you look at the games remaining and where we were, I just think that game, as a setback game as it was from the standpoint of the score and how we felt, some of the injuries coming out of that game, I still felt like we were still in control of the NFC East, obviously, and so there was a lot of positive, but guys really hung together. It could have spiraled at that point, and it didn't. And so I think that's the one thing that I'm the most proud of coming out of this season right now, is just looking at that moment and how things went positive for us instead of the other way.
Which players stand out to you as the ones that help keep it together?
I leaned hard on the player committee. I mean, you're looking at guys like Carson and Malcolm Jenkins is on there, and Fletch and Sproles and Chris Long's on there, Alshon Jeffrey's on there, BG. I mean, those guys are the ones that you lean on and say, hey, look, guys, this is a important time in our season right now, and it can go obviously one of two ways, and they chose the right path, obviously, but I do lean on those guys. Thank you, guys.